A massive series sweep for the Toronto Blue Jays, but a lot of important things to talk about. Trey Yesavage gets the call. Brian Roberts has words for Canadian baseball fans. And of course, so much more to get into on today's episode of Locked On Blue Jays.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. As always, I'm Brayden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5 Iwasko. Carter First, too, as well, on our main one, at Locked On Jays. You can also follow us Instagram and TikTok, at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you're new here to YouTube and you haven't hit the subscribe button already, make sure you do that. It helps us out. It's free. You get your shorts, your podcasts, your live streams, your videos, the whole ordeal. But so much to get into on today's episode. I mean, it is bonkers, the amount of stuff that has come out over this weekend. So much that we want to talk about. We're going to talk about the big things, and we're going to talk a little bit about the games as well, obviously. But at this point of the season, sometimes there's more important things. I'll start here. Trey Yesavage gets the call to the big league club, something that me and Carter, we've been asking for a while at this point. Why not? If he's one of your best guys, why not? We'll get into all that. Of course, Brian Roberts makes some comments about Canadian baseball fans. So we got to talk about that and give our opinions. He's apologized already. Do you feel good about his apology? We'll talk about all that. Of course, the series and a series preview, all to come in this episode. So, Carter, I think let's jump right on into it. The big man, Trey Yesavage, finally gets the call up to the Blue Jays with 13 games remaining in the season. How do you feel? And not how do you feel about him being called up specifically, but this late into the year, I guess it has to be the biggest question.
Well, you're getting them for when you need them, for a playoff push, for these playoff scenarios. Just an interesting scenario with the role that he's going to be in. When we were talking about Trey Yesavage, when we thought, hey, if he's going to come to the Toronto Blue Jays, he's probably going to pitch out of the bullpen. And how's that transition going to work? Because all he's done really has been a starting pitcher. Yes, he's gone in like kind of middle relief innings, but he's done exactly that. He's pitched for like 4 or 5 innings. He doesn't go out there and throw for 1 or 2. But then you get the news. Trey Yesavage called up to the Toronto Blue Jays, and he is starting on Monday against the Tampa Bay Rays. So we just had this conversation about a 6-man rotation, and now you throw Trey Yesavage into the mix of things. Do you go back to the 6-man rotation? Is this just like a trial and error thing to see what Trey Yesavage has as a starter? Is this just experimentation? Like, where are you kind of at with Trey Yesavage being rolled out as the starting pitcher?
Well, I want to get into John Schneider's quote because that'll sort of lead you where my head is at all this. So John Schneider, when he was asked about Trey Yesavage, says he is going to help the Blue Jays' ability to win, and he has the ability to do so. But his role post the Monday start is TBD. So that doesn't give me a whole lot of clues on where he's going to end up. Do I think that he could become a starting pitcher? Yeah, absolutely. And I think next year he's probably got a spot that's locked up right now at this point for the Toronto Blue Jays. But where do you put him right now? Because is he one of your best 3 guys right now? Maybe. Again, it's hard to say because we haven't seen him pitch the major league level. So, and are you going to base it on one start? I don't think you can do that. And I don't feel comfortable throwing this kid into a playoff situation based off of 1 or maybe 2 MLB starts. And as good as I think he can be, I think in a longer relief or honestly any type of relief out of the bullpen for the playoffs is the spot that he's going to have to be. And I think that's just where the circumstances are by leaving it so late into this season. If you could have got sort of what you're getting with Shane Bieber, 5 or 6 MLB starts pre-playoffs, I think then it would be, what this kid was and what he could be at the major league level. But you cannot base it off of 2 and expect him to come in as your 3rd game starter in the playoffs. I just think that's ridiculous to ask.
I think what we've learned from John Schneider and that quote is that the Toronto Blue Jays don't even know what they want to do with Trey Yesavage. This is really going to be an experimentation. He's going to be like a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. We're probably going to see him start. If that goes extremely well, like maybe he is a guy that they consider for a playoff start. If that doesn't go well, maybe move him to the bullpen. Like this is just really an upside move. For the Toronto Blue Jays. They believe, obviously, he is one of the best 14 pitchers in the organization. And we've said it multiple times this year. This team is special at this point in the season. Like, you want to put your best pitchers and best players out on the diamond. And why wouldn't you do that in Trey Yesavage? Like, what's the point of waiting at this point? This is, you have a really good chance at it. You're at the top of the American League right now, the third best record in all of baseball. Things are looking very bright going into the playoffs. This team is really, cohering on all cylinders, and they're a cohesive unit is where I was trying to get at there. But why not if you have Trey Yesavage and he's available? But I think to start out, like they're going to have that starting rotation. That he's obviously going to start on Monday. They've already came out and said that, but there's no way they go back to a 6-man rotation. They just talked, like Kevin Gausman has talked about how much he did not like that, and it's what's the point? You have 13 games left in the season. Like, you can give your guys an extra day's rest here and there. At this point, like, you're just trying to set your players up for the most amount of success. Yes, you would like a bigger sample size with Trey Yesavage, but I think we're going to see him in a multitude of roles in the small amount of starts that he can make. So that's the thing with the starting rotation as well, is that if he goes like 5 innings, they said there's no pitch limit on him. He can't go for another 5 days, right? So he has to have that rest in between starts. So we'll have to see, if this is a lengthy start, if maybe they have a short leash on him, or just what a lot of our questions right now that we're talking about will be revealed and answered as soon as we see Trey Yesavage pitch for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I'm going to go over just the pitching lineup for this next series just quick because we'll get into it more in the third segment here, but I figured I'll let you guys in just to show you where things are at. So Monday, you got Trey Yesavage. Tuesday, Jose Berrios. Wednesday, Kevin Gausman. And Thursday, Chris Bassitt. So there's the lineup. Trey Yesavage gets this start. Obviously, you won't see him again until post this series. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and Carter's exactly right. You hit it right on the nose there. We're going to have to do more of the takeaway. What is Trey Yesavage to this team post today's start as you guys are listening to this? So I think, Carter, let's leave the Trey Yesavage conversation.
I got one more question as an extension for this Trey Yesavage saga that we're getting into here. Say Trey Yesavage is like everything that we hope for. He does unbelievable as a starting pitcher. He's an ace out of the bullpen. Like, he is a guy that you think you can depend on in high leverage. Like, if it was up to you and you can really put him anywhere because he's succeeding in every spot, where do you think he helps this Toronto Blue Jays ball club the most? Is it as that starting pitcher? Is it maybe as a later relief guy, as we've seen some struggles with that? In the ideal world, where do you put Trey Yesavage?
Trey Yesavage is a starting pitcher. And at his best, if you can get 6 or 7 great innings out of him in a playoff start, that's best case scenario. The best he can be is eating as many possible innings against very good baseball teams. And as much as this bullpen has struggled, and that would be helpful as well, I think if you can get, 6 or 7 innings, and again, this is all speculation because I haven't seen him yet at the major league level, but if you can get him at that point, well, I think you have to put him there because you have guys like Chris Bassitt or, Eric Lauer out of the bullpen that can serve as those long man roles, because Trey Yesavage isn't going to come in and be a closer for this team. That's not the case. So he's going to be either the starting pitcher or he's going to be a long relief man. And if you can get him at his best as a starting pitcher, great. That's awesome. I just don't know right now that there's enough time for that.
See, I think if it was the ideal world and best case scenario, like Trey Yesavage, if he's just excelling at literally everything he does, he would be your closer. I think that's how you would help this team the most. But how realistic is that? Very unlikely. That's almost impossible. It's just not going to happen. Trey Yesavage, again, is the starting pitcher. It's all he's really done throughout the minor leagues. You're going to throw him into high leverage relief roles. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. But at this point, the reason they called up Trey Yesavage isn't as much for the development stuff. He's been unbelievable at every level he's really pitched at, but it's more so to help the team win right now. So they're going to use Trey Yesavage in any way that they need him. So it's not as much of what he's going to be the best at. It's how do the Toronto Blue Jays want to use him and how is it going to help them the most for their future success. But that is the Trey Yesavage saga, at least to start out. We're going to go into what our expectations are and everything with Trey Yesavage in the third segment. This has been one of those episodes that we could go for 3 hours, probably. We could have a spinning chicklets type of podcast here because there's so much to talk about. But I guess we'll go into the second big topic of the episode. Didn't think there'd be this much to talk about from an Orioles series and series sweep. That's also, I'm surprised you haven't done the thing yet. But we'll be
you said it. You said it. Here we go. That's a series sweep for the Blue Jays. I cut it short. I know it pisses some people off. I think it's hilarious.
I think it's funny, but I don't love it either. I'm going to be completely honest. It's loud as hell in my ears as well. So I can't even imagine if you're like in the car, maybe with your kids or something driving to work. Maybe it's 6 a.m. because we release these podcasts early, and then you just hear that siren. That's going to put some chills into you. You know, if you don't have the zip, maybe it's the sweep alarm on the wall.
Okay, how about this? I'll make you a deal for next season. I'll make it better. That was also like a 4-minute make.
No, I think we gotta see where the Toronto Blue Jays take the season. Like if it goes really well, we can't switch it, right?
You're right.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we might just have to soak the sweep alarm when it comes around. I think that's something that people will be okay with. The Toronto Blue Jays are going to continue to sweep big series, especially when you are in a massive postseason push for the AL East and now in the American League, 2.5 games atop of the Detroit Tigers. So again, a very good spot. But the Orioles color commentators and an ex-MLB player, Brian Roberts, giving us some stuff to talk about, especially as podcasters. Do you want me to kind of get into it, or do you want to take the lead here?
No, break it down. Give the quotes, because, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rampage. I want to say just media. You know how it is. I'll get into it. But, let everybody know the quotes and what he said, and then I'll fire right after that.
Yeah, so on the broadcast, this has been the second time that it seems that someone has talked about the Toronto Blue Jays and just their fan base, them as a collective. Second time there has been a broadcaster mentioning the Toronto Blue Jays. And this one is about the baseball IQ, actually, of the Toronto Blue Jays fan base. I figured I would read this word for word so you guys can really get the picture if you didn't hear it on the broadcast. But this is what he says. I've got to be real careful what I say. Okay, I'll restart. I've got to be real careful what I say. But sometimes we had some major questions about the baseball IQ of some Canadians. At times it felt like maybe they enjoyed or knew a little bit more about hockey than baseball. So again, like I'll just kind of throw it over to you just for your initial reactions, and then I'll kind of take over what I think about it after you.
So this comes off of the Orioles pitcher threw over in a pickoff move, and as baseball fans do, when there's pickoff moves, they boo. Get to the batter. It's something that happens in baseball. This isn't Canadian specific. That is baseball. And he goes on to say this. Then he tries to backtrack Carter and saying, oh, well, that's not what I meant. It's just baseball is the American sport. Hockey is Canada's sport, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I got that quote as well. Do you want me to get into
that? Yeah, sure. Might as well.
Okay, so this is what he kind of says after he received some backlash, obviously, from Canadian baseball fans, because we're immersed in Toronto Blue Jays media, and there's a lot of people that know a ton about baseball. Obviously, every fan base has some people that have some interesting takes, but there's a lot of smart baseball fans out there. There's definitely some people even smarter than us, and we cover this team every single day. So this is how he kind of goes and tries to defend himself. He says, it was not meant to be an insult. It was meant to be like, to me, it's what I voice when it comes to my own life. I would not have as much hockey IQ as everyone in this town that I would talk to. And I would say that most Canadians, and maybe that's a generality, but I would say that there's a decent amount of Canadians who would come to America that wouldn't know a lot about baseball compared to a general amount of Americans that play baseball. And those are all generalities, and I don't even know if they're true or not. So, like, if you don't know if they're true, like, why are you saying on a broadcast that's being broadcasted to thousands and thousands of people, and like you're taking a shot at Canadian baseball fans. You're saying that they are not as smart as American baseball fans because why? There's 29 American teams and there's only one Canadian team. I just don't understand how it's an ignorant thing to say, obviously. Yeah. But I don't understand how you wouldn't expect people to be upset or mad about this when you're literally taking a shot at an entire country.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to just the broadcasting. When people are broadcasters and not players, right? Broadcasters know what is a shot.
Thing, though, is that he played baseball before. Like, he's an ex-Orioles.
No, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Usually, I say this all the time. Ex-players usually, for the most part, don't make the best broadcasters because they do take little shots like this. They tend to show their biases, where in traditional media, again, we're not traditional media. We're here on YouTube and whatever. So we can say what we want. But
we're playing sirens when the Blue Jays sweep teams. I don't think that's the most professional thing out there.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, these guys are on national TV. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be careful with what you say. You're about to offend and piss off an entire country of baseball fans.
Well, especially when you start it with saying, I got to be real careful about what I'm going to say.
And then you tend to not be careful about what you say. Like,
yeah, and then you completely throw it out the window.
This is just an absolute botchery of the situation. He tried to make something like the fans booing a pickoff move into this, oh, I want to be noticed on the broadcast. And that's what it got. Oh, I'll say something a little controversial here. And I hate that. Dude, talk baseball. You don't got to talk that. You don't got to put down a fan base, especially when it's one of the best teams in the league and you guys are bottom of the barrel. Like, yeah, you're having a bad year. Deal with it and shut up.
Well, especially when, the Toronto Blue Jays have been so good with all the expectations that they've had since like the 2018, 2019, somewhere around those years. So like you have pretty much all Canada watching the Toronto Blue Jays because it's a very good baseball team. Canadians obviously love baseball, whether you think they know about baseball or they don't, they definitely love it. And I thought this was funny as well, as that some players actually had some comments on this situation as well. I think the best one I'm going to start with is from Ernie Clement. So this is from Andy Koska. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But he says, Blue Jays infielder Ernie Clement told the Toronto Star in response to analyst Brian Roberts questioning Toronto Blue Jays fans' baseball IQs. This is what Ernie Clement said. He says, we get 40,000 fans a night here. I mean, they probably get like 5,000 a night. So it makes sense that you would be a little salty about that. And this is a guy that's from Buffalo. It kind of has that, a little bit of the Canadian mentality, a hockey guy growing up. The traditional, like stereotypical, like, broad country hockey boy is kind of what you get a little bit from Ernie Clement. So it's a funny thing to say that he's just back up the Toronto Blue Jays. Obviously loves playing here. Really kind of rejuvenated his career with the Toronto Blue Jays. So much respect to Ernie Clement. There's a couple other guys that commented as well. IKF says you saw it Thursday night. Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s first at bats when he hit a ground ball to first base to advance the runner. Did get out, but again, advances the runner. The crowd erupts. Like clearly, they know obviously what's going on. That's what IKF is kind of getting at. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr. agrees. He says they understand baseball and they are the best fans in the world.
Yeah, that's, you know what? And it's different. And this comes with Canadian teams in certain things. Like I bet you the Toronto Raptors probably get somewhat of this same stuff, right? You're the only Canadian team in the league. You're going to be the butt of some jokes because there are one of you. And it's a lot harder to defend as one team rather than 29 teams and 29 fan bases or one large fan base. So this is stuff that's going to happen, but I think it's a different feeling with a lot of the players that come to Toronto and play here. They realize how great this fan base is. And sometimes over the top. But don't get me wrong. Toronto fans, including us, Carter, are over the top. We react hard. We're diehards. I mean, we watch 162 games, which is just sickening. These fans care a lot. And I think for somebody to take a shot at them is just sort of below the belt, especially when it comes to low baseball IQ. Like, grow up. What a dumb insult.
And there's fan spaces that are way worse than Toronto Blue Jays, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Yankees with like the Aaron Hicks situation, like throwing garbage on the field. The Phillies with the Jordan Romano stuff, booing him all the time. Again, throwing stuff on the field as well. You never really see that with Toronto. Maybe that's the Canadian stereotype. Hey, everyone's polite. I just think everyone just knows, hey, like, don't be an idiot at a baseball game. Like, you're going there to enjoy the game. Why are you trying to throw garbage at the players, the guys that are providing you the entertainment? And if they are your favorite baseball team, you probably want them to win. So why would you throw stuff at them to try to, hinder their performance? It'd probably make them feel even worse if things aren't going well. Like, these guys don't show up to try to lose baseball games. Maybe some people bet and gamble on some of their baseball games, but that doesn't happen with the Toronto Blue Jays, at least. So like, these guys care and they want to win. So again, as fans, we're going to be critical, especially
Absolutely.
when like people are deserving of being critical. If there's some mental lapses, things like that, the players, like, you're getting paid millions, you're, being broadcasted in front of thousands, millions of people. You got to expect to get some backlash, but it's more of an accountability thing. And the Toronto Blue Jays fans do it the right way, because you can tell they're super invested, but they know where the line is.
That's a great point. Yeah, it is different, right? When you go to other places, you can feel the difference when you go to Toronto or a Canadian city in comparison to the States. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but there are differences in the fan bases. And I'll leave it there because I think he already came out with the apology, obviously saying whatever.
Do you think he actually meant that, or was that like
no,
PR?
PR for sure.
Yeah,
I don't think he cares. And you know what? We won't have to deal with it for too long because they won't be in the playoffs and they're not going to be a team that we have to worry about thinking about. So there we go. I'll leave it there. We got a lot of stuff to get into around the games themselves before we hit the series preview as well. And we're going to take this long. I'm just letting you guys know this is not going to be a short episode. We'll be right back. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with can't-miss offers. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I'm a big NFL bettor. I love it every week, and FanDuel is my place to go. And with the bonus bets, I mean, that's a killer deal. Like, really, I wish I waited to set up my account for this deal. My brother got in when it was like $150. I think Carter got in when it was like a $200 deal. So this is the best one I've seen in a long time. So make sure you guys do it. Go and get those bonus bets. Place that first $5 bet. Make sure it's a winner so you do get those bonuses. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Today's episode is also sponsored by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get into the action. Just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. This is one of my favorite times in the year or in terms of sports, because you got hockey coming around the corner. Obviously, you got the MLB playoffs. The NFL is back. CFL, you got some games going on as well. It'd be nicer if the Bombers were a little bit better, obviously. But I have been immersed into fantasy, especially with the NFL. I like to match a lot of my NFL fantasy team picks with my picks on PrizePicks as well. So I've been loving the Saquon and Jalen Hurts stack. In one of my leagues, I have JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba in another league. I usually love to hammer the more thans on my fantasy players. So I not only get the enjoyment of beating my friends, but I also get paid out from PrizePicks as well. So you can download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
So, Carter, just continuing on, obviously, we're going to get into some of the stuff that happened throughout the games, or at least the bigger storylines. We're not going to necessarily go through it game by game because it's already been 20-so minutes, and we're just starting segment 2 and a lot to get to. We're going to talk a lot more about some of the carryover big stories throughout the week, obviously. Getting into the next couple series, there's going to be those topics that come up again, so we'll try to get into them, but we'll talk about the big ones. And Carter, I think we have to start with, the first game, I guess, right? Chris Bassitt goes out there. I know there's a lot of people really confused of why Chris Bassitt was pulled when he was. Because it was a very good outing from Chris Bassitt. I think one of his better ones as of late, something that we've been asking for is Chris Bassitt to get back to what he's been doing. So he goes 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run with 6 Ks and 1 walk, but gets pulled after the 5th inning, Carter. And I know, me and you were sort of having the conversation, like, why was he pulled? Because the broadcast mentioned something a little bit weird as well. Sort of bringing up the fact that, did something happen? Like, why is he coming out right now? And my answer to that was immediately what I thought was they didn't have to use a lot of the bullpen guys in the last game. So they figured probably they needed to get some guys innings. Chris Bassitt was doing well. So maybe you try to roll that over into his next start. And you had guys to bring in, so you could bring him in. That's sort of where my head was at. As far as I can tell, nothing is wrong with Chris Bassitt. He is okay.
Yeah, he's absolutely fine. I mean, look at the outing that Chris Bassitt had. And it goes to your point. Like, you look at what the Blue Jays schedule looked like. You had Kevin Gausman on the Thursday, go complete game shutout. Unbelievable stuff. Like, you're not going to complain about that whatsoever. But then Thursday, you have an off day. So then that's 2 days in a row where everyone in your bullpen has not pitched whatsoever. So at this point, Chris Bassitt's logged a lot of innings. Again, has looked a lot better recently. So really, making his case to be one of the playoff starters, maybe feeling that Trey Yesavage presence, just underneath them. Not sure what it is, but Chris Bassitt has been a lot better recently. And again, making a good case to be an important pitcher for this Toronto Blue Jays club. But yeah, you have 2 games in a row or 2 days in a row where you don't pitch anyone. Again, give Chris Bassitt a little bit of rest, especially with the playoffs 2 weeks away. So you go to some of your bullpen arms, you get a couple guys throwing as well. And the rest probably hasn't been a bad thing for the bullpen, because you look at the last week or so, week and a half, and this Toronto Blue Jays bullpen has been making those steps and taking those strides to maybe not be one of the top 10 bullpens in all of baseball, but for sure be average, and hopefully can continue that trend to get to being a top 10 bullpen in all of baseball, because you're going to need a bullpen, and a very good bullpen at that, in a playoff scenario.
Yeah, and something that we're going to have to talk about in an upcoming episode, Carter, is the rest versus rust when you get into the playoffs. If you do get to avoid that wild card series, so we'll talk about that sort of as we can sort of see a finalization of what the playoff picture is going to look like. But yeah, Carter, I mean, it just as a whole, I could talk first game, I could talk any game really in this series. It really was just a great weekend for the Blue Jays, and I think some really good takeaways. But Carter, that first game, just sort of a gutty 6-1 win. Like it's always nice when your pitchers can go out there and not really give up a whole lot. It lets your offense really cook. And I think the one thing we wanted to see was this offense continue to do well without Bichette, because they're going to they have to have, right? They couldn't just fall off the wagon because they're missing him. And now with eventually when Bichette comes back and Anthony Santander comes back, there's going to be a lot of places in this lineup that are going to have to shift and move around. So I think to see the success, I want to say this first game in particular, but then you can roll it over into the other two as well. But just really good job of hitting where guys are supposed to be. In this situation, you get this guy hitting. In this situation, you need to get this guy hitting. And it worked out pretty well. I mean, Vladdy, you got to give the guy the hat tips. I mean, 3 for 3. He was just an absolute tank that game. So shout out Vlad there too.
That's exactly who I was actually going to get into, was Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and it stems off the Bichette talk. So you talk about face of the franchise, you talk about superstars being your superstars late into the season and into the playoffs. This is where Vladimir Guerrero Jr. needs to step up. And yes, maybe you didn't get that home run, you didn't get the power swing, the Nick Kurtz 490-foot home run. It'd be fun to see if Vladdy could do that, but he went, got on base every single time. He went up to the plate. And when you have Bichette, who has been your main run producer, I'd say this entire season, again, George Springer, there's a couple other guys you could throw in, but he's been very significant to your offense. You need other guys to step up, and you need Vladimir Guerrero Jr. specifically to step up, because he is going to be the guy that you want in those situations. He's hitting 3 for a reason. You paid him $500 million for a reason. You didn't just pay him to, kind of hit a sac fly once in a while, but he's getting on base. He's hitting the ball hard. Again, you want the power to come a little bit, but we've kind of been saying that all year. I think with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., as long as he's just being productive, and we've seen this all for one mentality, and we've kind of seen this passing of a baton. Like Vladdy doesn't necessarily have to carry the offense. You have other guys that you can rely on to be productive as well, but you need Vladdy just to step up. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here. You want Vladdy to be really good, but obviously you want your team to help you out as well. And the team has been doing that this entire season. So now it's time for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to continue to step up, especially with Bichette and his absence.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to throw this in here because it was a nice little call I got. We were sitting on the couch watching Sunday football as well. We had one screen with the Jays game, one screen with football going on, and I get a call from my mom, and it was middle of the third game, and she goes, "You know what? She's like, I don't know if I've ever loved watching ball more than this year." She goes, "Well, maybe that 2015 year or whatever," but she said she it's hard for her because it's so nice out here in Winnipeg, and she's like, I want to be outside doing stuff, but I can't miss an inning. And that just shows, I think, where a lot of ball fans are at right now with this team. I think that Saturday comeback, Carter, that the Toronto Blue Jays had, capped off by Alejandro Kirk, I think that stamps out something, right? The ability to battle back, where you really you can't turn off a game. That's what's so great about this team, is you feel like they're never done, and you have to watch till the final pitch to see if they're going to make this comeback or make a game happen. And it's something they've been very, very good at. So I just wanted to give a shout out to this entire team for the way they can work back. I believe what now is 45 comeback wins for the Toronto Blue Jays this season. I believe it's second most in franchise history, which is 50. So just massive, just crazy. But the ability to work back into ball games and to never be out of it. It's the gritty mentality that this team brings just throughout this whole weekend, realistically. And all season has been just phenomenal.
See, that's a big part of it, obviously, is you have that gritty mentality and just the ability to come back in any single scenario. So that just makes you want to, sit at the TV, pay attention, obviously watch the game throughout. Like in 2024, there was a lot of games that you could have easily turned off the TV after like the second inning, and you would have been pretty right and pretty accurate of what you would have thought the Toronto Blue Jays score would be. But the biggest difference between this year is that it's just the fun has been instilled back with the Toronto Blue Jays. It's actually fun once again to watch the Toronto Blue Jays play baseball. The way they score runs is fun. A lot of these pitchers on this team is fun. You got some bullpen arms that, you know, they have some entertainment value there, obviously. Maybe you want them to be a little bit more consistent, but they definitely leave you on the edge of your seat when you're watching. So in terms of entertainment and just having fun watching the Toronto Blue Jays, that has like never been really back. Like that hasn't been these kind of feelings since, like your mom said, 2015. That's where a lot of Toronto Blue Jays are comparing this season. Hopefully it even, you know, surpasses that with a little bit more playoff success as well. But having fun on the baseball field and just, you know, playing good baseball and winning is just going to make things a whole lot easier on the team, the clubhouse, and obviously the fan enjoying the experience as well. You kind of talked a little bit about this when we were covering the first game. Let's dive into the second game and how they ended up pulling that one off, because, oh my goodness, the bottom of the order this time, just insanity. Like, you got Joey Loperfido driving in runs, Andres Gimenez being in the middle of that as well, on Alejandro Kirk coming in, massive sack fly. Massive. Where do you want to start? Like, which one do you want to kind of point out here? Because there's about 5 guys at least that you could give a lot of credit to during that second game.
Well, obviously, you got to give a huge shout out to Alejandro Kirk and what he was able to do there. But the one guy I wanted to narrow in on was the Joey Loperfido. And that's because this is a guy that's been sent down, brought back up. He didn't play extremely well in AAA. He gets brought back up, and you're thinking, oh, is this just one of those moves? Like, how is he going to fit back in? Is he going to be successful? And then he comes up and does jobs. And this is the mentality of this team. And I think Joey Loperfido coming in and doing this shows exactly what this team is built on. And I think it was Ernie Clement, maybe Bichette said it, I can't remember, in one of the post-game interviews, just said it's the next man up. It's whoever has to be ready is ready. I believe Davis said that same thing as well.
I think a lot of players on this team have kind of said that throughout the season.
And it was, it just is the case. It's the next guy up rising to the occasion. And so huge shout out to Joey Loperfido, a guy that, you know, was sort of bouncing up and down and just being able to get the job done. It's absolutely massive and probably the biggest component to this team's success this season.
See, my big thing is that they didn't, again, let the late inning runs from the Baltimore Orioles get to them. They didn't stop. They didn't take their foot off the gas pedal. Totally. They continued to push. Like, you look at the top of the 8th, you get a double from Samuel Basello. That makes it 3-1. Then you get Alejandro Kirk. He gets a run back in the 8th inning. And you're like, okay, maybe we got a chance at this. And then Kobe Mayo, out of all people, hits a home run in the 9th. You're down 4-2. That sucks the life out of a lot of baseball teams. And it's very easy to roll over after that, especially when you thought you kind of had a chance. And then you get a play like that. And it kind of feels like it's a bit out of reach. Yeah. And you get Joey Loperfido. You get Andres Gimenez. You get Miles Straw kind of in the mix of things. You got really everyone at the bottom of the order. Ernie Clement was in there as well, as in Padre, a home run in this game. So again, a lot of the guys aren't necessarily like these face the franchise players, these superstars coming in a massive scenario and really being the game of the series, obviously, in that second game. Joey Loperfido, like you said, when he got sent down, wasn't even playing bad baseball. He was playing exceptional for the Toronto Blue Jays. It's just you didn't have any other room. It's because, like you said, it's just the next man up mentality. Doesn't matter if it's, you know, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Miles Straw, who, again, was a guy that was in AAA all of last season. Doesn't matter who they're throwing into these lineups. They're all getting production. They're all producing. And it's just so much fun when, like you said, you can just roll a dice, you know, flip a coin, doesn't necessarily matter. Pick names out of a hat, and that's who's going to produce on any given day for your baseball team. We've said this so many times on the podcast. It's because they continue to do it, and it's been a ton of fun to watch these guys be successful.
Yeah, nail on the head, Carter. It's hard because we just coming off a series sweep. Are we going to have that much to disagree on? Probably not, but, you know, that's the beauty.
You gain ground. Like, the Yankees, as of right now, are down 6-0 to the Red Sox. So if things go well, like, you're up 4 games with the tiebreaker. You're up 5 games on the Yankees with 13 left. Like, how are you supposed to be mad? I'm talking about the Blue Jays after coming off sweep. The only thing you can be mad about is the Roberts comments, I guess. Like,
yeah, well, and you got your number 1 prospect coming up to pitch for your team. Like, exactly. There's a lot to be excited about with this ball club. And at the end of the day, it's just awesome. I think I've said at the end of the day about 9 times this episode. Sorry about that, by the way. But it's exciting. It really is. And it's been a super, super fun season. Carter, my man, I think I do want to ask you this before we take the break and talk about the third game and obviously into the series preview as well. But I want to leave people with this thought because it really has been a lot of positivity here from us. What did you think of Max Scherzer on Saturday? Are you worried? Because it's not like it was catastrophically bad. he is just the 5 innings, 2 runs type of pitcher right now over the past few starts. That's what we've been seeing. So is he still that number 3 guy in your mind as of right now? Again, barring what Trey Yesavage may or may not do, but is Max Scherzer still that number 3 guy for you?
It's definitely like a coin flip now. Like, this definitely isn't as certain as it definitely once was before with Chris Bassitt, the way he has been pitching recently. I'm just a little worried with Max Scherzer about the health again. Like, I think we saw him starting to struggle a little bit and fall off a little bit because of the injuries that he's talking about. It's not the thumb anymore. I believe it's a lower back thing with Max Scherzer. That's why there was an extra day rest added to his start. So that's where my cause of concern is that you're going to a playoff series. Again, you have all the starting pitching depth in the world, but you don't necessarily have, a 41-year-old that's won multiple World Series, won multiple Cy Youngs, and for a fact is not going to let the moment get too big for him. It's like, would you rather have Max Scherzer pitch in a playoff scenario or Trey Yesavage, where maybe the upside with Trey Yesavage is a little bit higher than Max Scherzer, but for a guy that's never pitched for the Toronto Blue Jays, again, you will have a couple starts underneath them, but it's with just the experience. That's where I'm a little bit worried with Max Scherzer. I think if he's healthy, he probably is one of your playoff starters, but that's where I'm concerned, is how healthy is Max Scherzer. At this point, he's not going to tell the Blue Jays staff, hey, I'm not ready to go. He's going to want to be out there every single chance that he can be out there. So that's going to be something the Toronto Blue Jays definitely have to monitor.
No, and that's a fair answer. And that's sort of the answer I was looking for, because I'm not hitting panic buttons or nothing like that with Max Scherzer, but I think the concern always starts to creep in, especially with what we've seen and the lower back issues that he's talked about. So again, we're going to come back. We're going to talk game 3 and then obviously tee up the next series for the Toronto Blue Jays, a little series preview. So stick with us right after this short break.
Today's episode also sponsored by Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. And that's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just the hype. This is the supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. I started noticing on my dad, he started taking Nutrafol, so I started noticing less hair shedding on him. It just looks a lot more healthier. And the biggest thing is the confidence, is that once you have the hair that you are confident about, you can see it. You can see it in his face. You can see it on multiple other people's faces that have taken Nutrafol and restored their hair growth and limited a lot of shedding. Confidence is a huge thing, obviously, as human beings in your day-to-day life, and hair growth, especially if you have that as one of your things you're a little bit worried about, Nutrafol can be your saving grace. See thicker and stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB.
Today's episode brought to you also by Farm to Fork. You guys know how much I love Farm to Fork. Listen, I eat a lot of meat, and me and Carter, that's when we go to the store, it's like, oh, what do I want to get today? What do I want to get? And it's never quite at the quality you want. Farm to Fork is different. If you're a fan of premium, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door, I've got some very exciting news. Farm to Fork makes it easy to get high-quality steaks, air-chilled chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more, all with no antibiotics, hormones, or GMOs. Plus, everything comes flash frozen, and individually packaged for your convenience. All Farm to Fork meats are raised on Canadian farms. So when you order, you're supporting local producers, and it's time to buy Canadian. It's more important now than ever to shop local, shop Canadian. And you know what? Listen, we're in our mid-20s, right? The Walmart steaks aren't doing it anymore. That's why you got to go. You got to get Farm to Fork, and you can just taste the difference. I'm telling you guys. I've got a special code just for you guys. Use Locked On 40 to get $40 off your first order at Farm to Fork. Visit farm2forkdelivery.ca to start stocking up on the best meats around. Again, that's Locked On 40 for $40 off your first order. Farm to Fork, delicious locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door. So, Carter, continuing on here, obviously we want to talk a little bit about Game 3, but then a series to preview, because every series at this point is an important one. And again, sorry, this is a long episode. We usually like to keep them, around the 30, 35-minute mark for you guys, because we know it's like podcast while you drive, right? That's what I do. Carter does the same thing. We get, sometimes go back to Bossier, and it's like, oh, I got a 45-minute drive. Perfect. But, it is what it is when there's this much Blue Jays news. So, Carter, my man, Game 3. Where do you want to start, dude? I mean, that was
this was an obvious one for me. It's Unk again. It's just every single time. It's George Springer. That's where you got to start with. 29 home runs now on the season. Like at this point, going to be your home run leader. Should get the 30 as well. Adds 2 more doubles to that. I just don't know how he's doing it. Like I know like what he's done. I know he's kind of really tried to focus on getting more lift in his swing and kind of hitting up on the ball, hitting the ball in the air more. I just don't know how you can make this massive transformation in 1 year in an off season. And when everything, all the numbers were looking like it was all going downhill. It looked like all the best years were behind George Springer. And then all of a sudden now, again, with Bichette out, you need some guys to step up. And it's not even really him stepping up. It's just been what he's been doing this entire season. Just that's where it's always been, George Springer. And he's the heart and soul, honestly, I think, of this Toronto Blue Jays team, just with the leadership qualities that he possesses, just his little things on the base paths, the amount of enthusiasm and just heart that he shows, and just like the little things as well. Like he scores in this game. I think it was the Aston Barger triple. He scores. First thing he does is he turns around and he's directing Vladdy. He's like, hey, I need you to go this way. I want you to slide. And it's just the little things like that maybe people don't notice that George Springer brings to a baseball team, and just has really been one of the main reasons, obviously, why this Toronto Blue Jays ball club has really turned things around since 2024. It's you could talk about George Springer and all the positive stuff regarding George Springer. Like you could make your own podcast almost at this point. We call it the Springer Show. Pretty much what we are.
That's pretty much, yeah. The 2025 Locked On Blue Jays have now become the Springer Show.
And that was after, like, I'll be hand up. Like, I was hating on him. A lot of people were last year because it wasn't good at all. So, yeah, I apologize to George Springer. I was not familiar with I was familiar with your game, but not this game. I was not familiar with the game that you're showing right now. And I want to get a lot more familiar with it, especially with one more season, remaining in Toronto as George Springer. Imagine you get, a little bit of the reverse. Like you had some good spots at the start, had some injury troubles, not some great spots in the middle at all. And then all of a sudden at the end of the contract where we were saying, hey, like, can we trade this guy to get out of the contract? No, he's just going to be one of your debatable MVPs of the season.
Yeah, it is crazy. And you really got to give your hat tips because, hand to God, I was not on the George Springer makes comeback player of the year, but man, he pretty much is.
Yeah, top 5 in OPS. Nobody said that. I don't care. You're lying if you're saying you said that. Nobody had George Springer bouncing back, at least to this trajectory. Like maybe you thought it was going to go better, but not top 5 numbers in most offensive categories in the American.
It couldn't have got much worse. It couldn't have got much worse.
Right?
You had to have some type of bounce back, but not like this. Also, Carter, this was an interesting game, too, for me because it wasn't the home run ball for 11 runs that got you this win, right? It was just passing the baton, next guy up, doing your job, getting a run here, getting a run there, getting another couple here. That is great team baseball, especially for a team that, isn't the biggest home run team that they're still all season. I don't care. A lot of people expected this team to stop being able to score runs the way they are because it's not sustainable. Well, it's been sustainable. That's the crazy thing. Without obviously the home run ball comes into play here and there. That's massive. But really, for the majority of this season, it hasn't been that. It's been pass the baton. Next guy, next guy, next guy. And that's the beauty of this team right now because there aren't a lot of other baseball teams that are doing this. Maybe the Brewers as well are sort of another team that's in that conversation. But there aren't that many teams in baseball that have the ability to do this all season long. So absolutely massive from this offense just as a whole. And then Carter, Shane Bieber again. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, gives up the long ball because that's just Toronto Blue Jays pitchers. But a 1-run ball game in 6 innings, that's in a playoff game.
Yeah,
what else are you asking for?
Nothing. Yeah, that maybe no runs, I guess. Like that's the only other thing you can ask for. But yeah, solo shots really aren't going to hurt you that much unless you're giving up 7 of them. If you give up 1 or 2, again, if you get 6 innings, 2 runs, and this was 1 run in this case, like you're taking that every single day of the week. And I know it is against the Baltimore Orioles, but their hitting isn't really the problem. It's their pitching this entire season that has been their Achilles heel. That's been the issue with the Baltimore Orioles. Hopefully they don't address that once again in the offseason. We have a lot of fun just teeing off on some of these pitchers that the Baltimore Orioles are rolling out. Kind of felt bad for one of their pitchers. I think it was one of his first appearances in the major leagues. His last name starts with an R. I'll pull it up. But he was just getting annihilated. Like that was the Barger double in that inning. Ragsdale. It was Ragsdale, yes. When it was not going very well for him, unfortunately. I don't really have a lot of empathy for the Orioles because like when we were there last year, they weren't sad about us. They weren't sad about looking at the Toronto Blue Jays being like, oh, poor you guys, poor Blue Jays fans. So I don't have a lot of empathy for them. But in that scenario, at least for that pitcher, I had just a little bit of empathy. But after the Brian Roberts comments, I mean, them helping us out a ton, giving us the series sweep. So yeah, thank you for the farewell gift as you start planning your vacations as the Toronto Blue Jays will be in the playoffs. But yeah, it's been a fun series, and it's kind of sad to see that the Baltimore Orioles will no longer be playing the Toronto Blue Jays for the rest of 2025.
Yeah, it's too bad. But in saying that, the Toronto Blue Jays do get another series underway here. Again, I'll go over the pitching matchups for each day, or at least the Blue Jays side of things, and I don't think all of them for the Rays have been announced.
Well, and we'll go over this more in depth for tomorrow as well. Like, we're already at 44 minutes here. We'll have a little bit more time, ideally, tomorrow. Again, a lot of Trey Yesavage stuff. Obviously, we'll see kind of what happens there. Maybe, the Rays reporters say something. We got to talk about that. Crazier things have happened, but we'll get into a lot more depth, especially about the Trey Yesavage stuff, and then the rest of the series as well on tomorrow's episode. But yeah, give us the at least the Monday games matchup.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to go over just the Blue Jays starters in totality again for the people that missed it early in the episode. It's Trey Yesavage Monday, Jose Berrios Tuesday, Wednesday's Kevin Gausman, and Thursday is Chris Bassitt. So for this matchup, again, I don't have actually the Tampa's pitching lineup yet. It's not fully set here for me. So unless you have it under yours. But again,
no, it doesn't look like they have anything confirmed yet. I'm just checking the second site that it looks like it's all to be determined. At least for
that's
the first game of the series.
That's understandable because, well, at least for the Blue Jays, we weren't sure that it was going to be Trey Yesavage, right? It was unconfirmed, and obviously now it's confirmed. But I think there's a lot when it gets to this point of the season. There's a lot of turnover, a lot of switching. Hey, who needs rest? Who do we need to put where? So, yeah. I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens in this series. I think, I guess, Carter, we won't say which games or what the Blue Jays will win, but what do you think the outcome of this series will be?
Vladdy's going back to a AAA ballpark. Maybe you got a Vladdy series on our hands here. Maybe you get some of those 2021 vibes re-encapsulated in this series. But I just kind of wanted to go into the Trey Yesavage stuff quickly as well, and just our expectations on him, and then I'll give my take quickly on the rest of the series. Again, we'll talk about that more in tomorrow's episode. But with Trey Yesavage, obviously making the first start for his MLB career. And the narrative with Trey Yesavage is that the first time he goes to a new ball club and, has that promotion to the next league, it doesn't necessarily go that well. Maybe Trey Yesavage doesn't like change. He doesn't like, new situations, because I'm going to go over his first start, obviously, with the Toronto Blue Jays in A-ball all the way up to AAA. So in A-ball's first start, 3.2 innings pitched, 2 runs. None of them were earned, though. 4 Ks, 6 walks. The command was a huge issue, and that's really a common theme that you're going to see with a lot of the stat lines. So in high A, 4 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 10 Ks, 3 walks. So again, had a lot of the swing and miss stuff, but again, the command in that start wasn't necessarily where you wanted it to be, and you had a lot of the strikeouts were on balls like in the dirt, on chase pitches where you're not necessarily going to get that at the major league level. But that definitely can't take anything away from Trey Yesavage in his first time. He started at that point in AA, 4 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 4 Ks, 4 walks. In AAA, 1.2 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 3 Ks, 4 walks. So again, it's mostly the command that has some issues with Trey Yesavage, and that might be the first thing that he has some trouble with, is maybe not getting as much chase on some of his pitches, especially, the slider at the bottom of the zone, the over the arm angle with the splitter, the over the top arm angle is definitely going to help him out with some of that chase stuff. And that's why he is so disgusting and getting some of these crazy numbers. But expectations for Trey Yesavage it's not high. Like, I'm not expecting him to go 5 innings pitched or scoreless baseball. I'm expecting to kind of go how the other ones went. Like, I think there is going to be a little bit of the bump in the road here against your first major league start. I would love for him to go 7 innings scoreless, but I think he's going to be around the 3 to 4 inning total. I think 3 is a very good place to start. Probably has 3 or 4 walks there as well. I'll give him 2 earned runs given up, but I think it's something to build on is what Trey Yesavage is going to give you in that first game. As for the rest of the series, I want a 3-1 series win.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I think he's going to go 4. I think he's going to go 4 with 2 given up. And then they're just going to say, even though John Schneider did come out and say there is no pitch limit for him, like they're not setting a whatever, he's stretched out. He's ready to go. So let's see what he can give us. So yeah, interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll break it all down on tomorrow's episode. A lot more to come. We've taken up enough of your guys' time on this Monday, so we'll leave it there. I'm going 3-1 as well, Carter. We'll get into more when we know the pitching matchups and everything tomorrow on tomorrow's episode of, I guess, every other game besides the one that we would have watched already, I guess. Yeah. But other than that, we appreciate you guys always for tuning in. Make sure you come back every single day for Blue Jays updates, news, information, breakdowns, the whole ordeal here on Locked On Blue Jays. Carter, my man, before we kick out of here, any last words from you?
On to the semifinals in fantasy baseball, baby. Absolutely love to see it. Sorry, Matthew, for the tough L, especially that Panthers game. Man, that took years off of my life as well. What a Sunday it's been, though. At least the Toronto Blue Jays won and, saved my life a little bit, because fantasy has not been that much fun today either. So at least we have the Toronto Blue Jays to kind of save our days in some senses, because definitely not a fun start to the day either. Definitely wasn't feeling that good. I'm sure Brayden was along there with me as well. But thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you guys again tomorrow after a unbelievable Trey Yesavage start.